public session to reconvene in executive session for the purpose of discussing the following: personnel, student matters, contracts, negotiations, and litigation. Can I have a motion to move to executive? A second. Okay, thank you. We'll be down in meeting. It was not very long. I want to thank you for your patience as I know we came out of executive a little bit evening schedule this evening, so we appreciate your patience with us. As I said, we just come out of executive, and if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baker?
Here.
Mrs. Montgomery? Ms. Cooper? Here. Mrs. DeYoung? Here. Mrs. Brennan? Here. Mr. Joyce?
Here.
Ms. Nathan?
Here.
Mrs. Tiller?
Here.
Mrs. Ryle?
Here.
And Mrs. Ingram?
Here. Okay, before I turn it over to Dr. Dempsey for the report of the superintendent, I would just like to welcome Ms. Clark Emmerich. She was sworn in at Alcott and over at the house here and joined us at our museum. Dr. Dempsey, right into the report of the superintendent. Okay, good. Thank you, Heather.
Before we welcome our student reporters, the board's attorney would like to share some information, so I'm going to pass it along to Joyce Gutierrez. I don't think we have enough screens. At least 10 more. Good evening everyone, good evening members of the public, board members, thank you so much for the opportunity. So tonight what we wanted to do is, we're going to start doing a little series of school law talks because what we've discovered, I've known this for a long time, but what we've discovered is that the workings of a school district, the laws that apply to school districts, the regulations that apply to school districts, don't necessarily apply to other places, so in order to make sure that we all know what we're talking about, I can give like a little primer on school law. So today's is going to be on what's collective bargaining. And we have, do you want to do it? Mike Clifford? Okay, excellent. Thank you. So collective negotiations in the school district. Most school districts in the state have to with most school districts in the state, teachers and all their employees, custodians, secretaries, and administrators also belong to an association. Somerset Hills, the Association for the Teachers, Custodians, and Secretaries is the Somerset Hills Education Association. We also, and I'm going to respect administrators, I didn't mention that there is a Somerset Hills Administrators Association. I didn't mean to leave them out, but that's called MSHA, another association. SHAE, we're going to focus on SHAE for the moment since it is the largest association of employees. SHAE, the board periodically negotiate the terms and conditions of the employment agreement, and those are written into a collective negotiations agreement. It's also called a collective bargaining agreement, and it's very often referred to as the contract. And that contract contains the terms and conditions of employment. Thank you so much. Currently, SHAE has an agreement that started July 1, 2021, and it expires June 30, 2022. So it expires this school year. Okay, so I want 10 more. No problem. So, in the next few weeks, we're anticipating that we'll be starting negotiations with SHAE. We've already spoken about it. We're starting to throw out some dates. so that we can come to an agreement as to what the next collective bargaining agreement is going to look like. Great. Terms and conditions of employment. That's a sort of a legal term, labor relations world. Typically, there are lots of different terms and conditions of employment, but typically you're talking about salary, an annual salary, any kind of overtime rate, any type of extra duties, anything that has to do with co-curricular or athletic stipends, any type of tuition reimbursement for teachers, or actually for any employee where there's tuition reimbursement in the contract. Health insurance benefits. The level of benefits is a term and condition of employment. That's negotiable. The actual insurance company, the board gets to select that. But what benefits are provided, that's something that's negotiated. Working hours, what time does the staff start to work, what time does their day end. Student contact hours, that's how much time teachers spend with students. The number of days in the school year that's beyond 180 days is the minimum number of school days by law. So anything that's above that is negotiable. It can never be below 180. Professional development days is negotiable. Kind of holidays, what holidays are given is also negotiable. Basically, anything that involves hours of work, payment for those hours, those are negotiable. So, collective bargaining, how it works. The employers is Somerset Hills Board of Education. The union, the association, is the Somerset Hills Education Association. The administrators, as I said, is the Somerset Hills Administrators Association. But for SHAE right now, their current contract is July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022. And year after year until the successive agreement is negotiated. If we're not able to complete negotiations by the 30th of June, then all of the terms and conditions that are in the current contract continue, they don't change, they stay the same. So that no matter how long it takes, it's not going to take a long year. I'm very confident of that, but I have represented clients where it's taken up to 4 years to negotiate a new agreement. During that entire time, the association is not working without a contract, but working under an expired contract. Because all of the terms and conditions remain the same, nothing changes. Next. So, negotiations, how it works. Step one is that both sides decide that they're going to have meetings. We exchange proposals, we exchange ground rules, we exchange salary information, all kinds of financial information. The business administrator gets lots of requests for information. She provides them to the association and takes a look at that. If for some reason we're not able to negotiate an agreement, we're not able to complete negotiations, we get stuck. Then what we could do is we could declare what's called impasse. Neither side can reach an agreement. So we go to the Public Employment Relations Commission, which is a state agency that oversees labor relations for all public employees in the state. Firefighters, police officers, state employees, school district employees, municipal employees. So purpose of calling a mediator, somebody to come in and meet with both sides and try to find a resolution. If for some reason we can't reach mediation, like we can't find an agreement with a mediator, then the next step would be going to something that's called fact finding. Fact finding is that we go back to FERC, and FERC provides us with the names of several different arbitrators who become fact finders, and we mutually agree on them. And the fact finders would have a hearing, and each side would present the reasons why they feel that they should get whatever it is that's in dispute. The fact finder would make a recommendation to both sides, and then the board would agree to it, could accept the fact finder's recommendation, or not. The association could accept the fact finder's recommendation, or not. Nobody's bound by it. If one party doesn't agree to it, then what happens then is that we go to conciliation. Conciliation is another step, which is that we go back to her, and then they send us yet another mediator, who then, I've never gotten to that point. I've always reached agreement somewhere. But for those people that have we rarely go to conciliation. Allegedly, in conciliation, the mediator will lock us in the door and lock the doors and say, you're not meeting for the region. But I think that those are just full story. But presumably the facilitator would come in and try to get us to reach. If for some reason it got so bad that we still couldn't reach an agreement, the only other remedy is to go back and sit down at the table and start bargaining. Like I said, very, very, very few pieces of conciliation. Somewhere, some more and more have gone to fact-finding in recent years. Somewhere fact-finding huge. Because eventually you come down to a point where, you know, it's a matter of just one or two items that are left. Grievances. Grievances, inside the collective bargaining agreement, there's a provision that allows for grievances to be filed. A grievance is that the association can file a grievance when it feels that a term of the contract, the collective bargaining agreement, has been improperly determined. The grievance process requires the association to file an official notice, to file a grievance with the employee supervisor. If there's no satisfaction there, then that grievance can be moved up through the different steps until it reaches the superintendent. If the superintendent can support the grievance or deny the grievance, if the superintendent denies the grievance, the association can then ask the board to meet to discuss it. In the shared collective bargaining agreement, there's a specific provision that says that the board has the right to decide whether or not it may hold a hearing or not. And then SHAE has the right to move the grievance to an arbitrator who independently will listen to the case and then issue a ruling. Just a couple of things about negotiations and confidentiality. Traditionally, negotiations are kept confidential. The board appoints a committee of 3 or 4 people. The association has a committee of several individuals, and then they meet somewhere in private and have their discussions. Traditionally, those discussions are kept confidential until we reach the point where we have an agreement. But that has to be mutually agreed upon that they will be confidential. The other piece that I want to just point out is teachers are permitted to share information about negotiations in the classroom with students or parents. There's been case law that talks about that, because the point is not to have collective bargaining issues interrupting the classroom. There's one of the quotes from one of the decisions is that the classroom is not a place for proselytizing students to advance the teacher's financial interests. The notion of classroom trends modified into a teacher's soapbox. That particular quote was especially concerned about that. So that's just one of the things to bear in mind in terms of negotiations, and you'll hear more about this later on as we move further in the process. That's it. Does the board have any questions at all about the process? No? Okay, great. Thank you for your attention. Next time we'll come up with another. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. And just thank you, Louise, as we move through all the various processes of operating on a school board. We felt that it's important for the public to understand the various processes that we use, the laws that we have to abide by, and the more educated we all are, the more laws our district and our students. So, thank you. We appreciate it. And now we are ready for our student representatives. Sadly, we do not have anybody from the middle school here tonight, so I'm going to ask our high school reps to step up to the podium. I feel like I saw Mary. There she is. Oh, is Chris here? No. You're solo. Yes.
Well, Happy New Year. We haven't seen you guys since December. There hasn't been too many updates in the high school, but in regards to some of the winter sports, Austin Tondo has been insane. He's on the ski team, and he's gotten first place in numerous races so far, which is awesome. Our boys and girls fencing teams were champions in saber at the Gil St. Bernard's tournament. both boys and girls swim teams remain undefeated in the Skyline Conference meets, and yesterday, the swim teams beat Voorhees at RBCC. And recently, or yesterday, our girls basketball team beat Somerset 39-26, and wrestling just had their senior night on January 19th. In regards to some academics, last week was the end of the first semester. Believe it or not, we are halfway through the year. And some student schedules are changing based on whether they have any half-year courses or electives. In regards to seniors, applications at this point in the year are all done, and now most seniors are waiting to hear back from colleges they applied, whether a decision or early decision to. And this Friday at the Basking Ridge Country Club, the seniors are having Night of the Stars, which is an event that invites people to dress up as favorite movie stars, sports legends, celebrities, or characters, and we're all looking forward to them. And that's all we have for tonight, but thank you. Thanks so much, Mary. Thank you.
January 2022 has not been an easy start for Somerset Hill School District. Our COVID dashboard at the end of the first week of January reported a record 154 positive cases. Mercifully, this number was cut almost in half during week 2, where 76 positive cases are nothing to take lightly. Last week we were down to 41, and when I looked earlier today, so far we had 10 cases this week. So we're relieved that things are moving and trending in the right direction. This pattern is certainly not unique to our district. The state's COVID activity level index, or CALI score, is a weekly data point that is developed numerically, providing case rate percentages of COVID-like illness and percentages of positivity for 6 New Jersey regions. The CALI index ranges from 1 or low to 4, very high. And all of New Jersey was reported at the top of the scale, wherever very high for the week ending January 1st. While some areas are improving, the Central West region, which includes Somerset County, has remained at this level ever since. Note that there is a lag in the timing of this metric, and we're hopeful that tomorrow's update indicates something different from last week. Meanwhile, written recommendations from the New Jersey Department of Health have been issued a number of times over the course of the last month. As we discuss these with colleagues and local health officers, the community can trust that the Board of Education and the administration always strives to balance evolving guidance, the safety of our school community, and our commitment to prioritizing full-time in-person learning. As I shared with Crimson reporter Megan Shelley, so far local health officers have not seen evidence of transmission in school that should lead to closure. For that, we remain grateful. The district will continue to tweak our processes to respect health officers' guidance while similarly respecting our responsibility to educate. As I mentioned back in August, health recommendations continue to indicate that vaccination is the best way to ensure that your child is not impacted by contact tracing. This guidance has been updated recently to indicate that boosters should play a role in this. At this time, the district continues to consider students and staff with 2 shots in a 2-shot series or 1 shot in a 1-shot series to be exempt from contact tracing, though this could change at some point soon to include booster status in school exclusion decision-making. We are thankful to parents and staff that have shared information with administrators and our building nurses to help facilitate what is a complicated and sometimes stressful process for all. We all look forward to brighter days ahead. For the retirees on our agenda this evening, I guess those brighter days are coming on a schedule. I'd like to turn things over to Kristen DeBronco so the board can recognize our retirees.
And I've asked our personnel committee to join me and provide a couple minutes. Great, I'll get it kicked off. Whereas Jeffrey Caswell has been employed from September 2000 through June 2022 as a teacher of physical education and driver education, and whereas Jeffrey Caswell exemplified expertise, commitment, and professionalism in his duties, now therefore be it resolved, the Somerset Hill School District and Board of Education recognize Jeffrey Caswell's retirement effective July 2022 and extend to him congratulations and best wishes for a happy, healthy, and enjoyable retirement. Whereas Kay Collins has been employed by her from March 20
2002 to March 2022 as a teacher of mathematics, whereas Kay Collins exemplified expertise, commitment, and professionalism in her duties. Now therefore be it resolved, the Somerset Hills School District and Board of Education recognizes Kay Collins' retirement effective April 2022 and extends her congratulations and best wishes for a happy, healthy, and enjoyable retirement. Whereas Patricia Madalena has been employed from September 1983 through June 2022 as an employee as an elementary teacher, and whereas Patricia Madalena exemplifies expertise, commitment, and professionalism in her duties, now therefore be it resolved, the Somerset Hills School District and Board of Education recognizes Patricia Madalena's retirement effective July 2022 and extends her congratulations and best wishes for a happy, healthy, and enjoyable retirement.
Whereas Vincent Teresiano has been employed from September 2000 through June 2022 as a BMS teacher, and whereas Vincent Teresiano exemplified expertise, commitment, and professionalism in his duties, now therefore let it be resolved, the Somerset Hills School District and Board of Education recognize Vincent Teresiano's retirement effective July 2022 and extend him congratulations and best wishes for a happy, healthy, and enjoyable retirement.
Whereas Emily has been employed from September 2000 through June 2014 as an elementary teacher and from September 2014 through June 2022 as a school counselor, and whereas Emily Pike exemplified expertise, commitment, and professionalism in her duties. Now therefore be it resolved, the Somerset Hills School District and Board of Education recognize Emily Pike's retirement effective July 2022 and extend to her congratulations and best wishes for a happy, healthy, and enjoyable retirement.
Last but all remind our community that January in New Jersey is School Board Recognition Month. Our public schools depend upon the guidance and leadership of everyday citizens, and the volunteers at this table give tirelessly of their time, week in and week out, for the benefit of the students of the Somerset Hills. Our school system is lucky to benefit from their volunteerism, and I'm sure you're trying to thank you.
Public comments for actionable agenda items. We very much welcome input from the public. Public comments are welcome at this time on any actionable agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there is a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public comments will be limited to 30 minutes. We appreciate your input. Ms. DeMarco will keep time and let you know when you have 30 seconds left, and we just ask that everybody be respectful of all public comments made. Yes, I would just request that you please leave your mask on.
It's hard to speak. I my breath. All those good things with me.
Yes, we do appreciate it.
It fogs my brain too. Okay. Good evening. My name is Karen Shepard. I live at 16 Ambar Place in Burnsville. I'm speaking on actionable items 3J, 4C, 4D on the agenda. Have you as board members researched the proposed racial equity facilitator training workshop? I have, and I'm seriously concerned. You should be too. Have you as board members researched what this workshop is teaching our administrators? In researching this workshop on their website, it states, we also strengthen our abilities to foster long-term change by redressing institutional and societal conditions that create everyday manifestations of inequity. Is this why parents send their children to school? No. If you think our schools have a systemic problem, what evidence do you have, and can you produce that our district is systemically racist? What evidence can you produce that Somerset Hills is guilty of subtle or overt forms of bias, inequity, and oppression related to race, class, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, disability, language, religion, immigration status, and other factors? But administrators, teaching staff, and other staff witness firsthand systemic racism at Somerset Hills School District. I'm not talking about an occasional tiff between students, but rather ongoing daily systemic racism. Are you saying that all white students are intrinsically biased? How did you measure that? If so, then school administrators are guilty of perpetuating these behaviors and should resign. As school administrators or board members requested and conducted a survey of teachers, support staff, parents, and students regarding any of these issues? Without providing specific examples of the above, our administrators should not be allowed to attend this workshop. I believe there is a program which has been in place for years called Character Ed. That was Character Ed's mantra is, do nice things, include others, and start your own chain reaction. Good common character traits are dependability, kindness, empathy, courage, integrity, and self-awareness. Your job as board members is not to simply rubber stamp requests. Research, think, question. Do not be derelict in your duties. Thank you.
Well, my name and address, or John Donovan, 16 South Street. I'm in agreement with what the last speaker said. I'm here to speak on curriculum number 3D and 3J, and 4 B, C, and D. This brought to my attention. I was definitely a little upset because I feel at best it's sort of a poor prioritization, and at worst, it's sort of embracing mediocrity. Because while I was taking this, I was taking a look at the U.S. News and World Report school rankings in New Jersey, which we all look at a report card, like they're not, is what it is. And just the contiguous ones that people might look at when looking at our town. And, in New Jersey, Chatham's 23, Ridge is 25, Madison's 38, Martin's 45, and we're 51. And that's not the whole story, because in the math proficiency and verbal, respectively, Chatham's like 63%, 88%. Ridge is 70%, 86%. Madison 63, 75. Mendon's 63, 85. Here we are, Math 83 and reading 68. When I see things like on the agenda, we're spending staff and financial resources to send people for a cultural sensitivity training and whatever facilitating they're doing. That's poor progress, and everything we do should focus on improving these scores, because it's a great town. But I'm tired of having to defend why our scores are terrible. So I respectfully ask you to remove this from the agenda and not go forward with spending this money and sending people to do this and other things we think we should be doing for our kids. And also, it's interesting to have this conversation about this constantly. We should move the agenda. I don't know how it works, but I'd like to need a roll call to see how everybody stands on this. So the public and for us here. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to close public comment, please? Nicole? Can we get a motion to approve minutes? Can I have a motion to approve minutes?
You want to just the name that was switched. So that's what you're doing on. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark-Emery? Stephen? Mrs. Cooper? Mrs. DeGrande?
Yes.
Mrs. Dragna? Yes. Mr. Joyce?
Same.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tobin?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanford?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then we can move into committee reports. Bob, can you go through that one, please?
Okay. Finance Committee met last Wednesday, January the 20th, for an hour and 15 minutes. Everybody was in attendance, along with Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, and Ms. DeMarco. We discussed 4 major topics. The first item we discussed, and it's on the agenda, approving the special law enforcement contract for the year. We're now approving it on a calendar basis with the town. The town has a yearly calendar budget where our budget starts in July, but it's going to be for the 2 police officers for the 10 months of the year that they're on campus at the middle school, Bedwell, and the high school. It's $100,300, and we're going to pay it on a monthly basis. The contract is the same we've had in the last 2 years, and so the committee is recommending approval of that contract when we vote on it. Second item we discussed was the report from our demographer. We have a demographer that we hire each year to help us with projecting student enrollment when we do the budget. Based on her study of the current growth rates, back in October of this year, our enrollment was 1,705, and she's predicting a decline of 27 students for the start of the school year. And that's her best projection, and the projection is the next 4 years after that will continue to drop because these birth rates across the United States have fallen. However, if anybody noticed in the newspaper this week, birth rates in the U.S., New Jersey have gone up this year, which means in 5 years, she'll need to do this a lot more carefully and see what happens in the 5th year. But we have a long way to go through that. The next item we talked about was the Garden State Health Plan. This is the new health plan that the state legislature came up with, along with the educator health plan, which is already in effect. It's for all school teachers. And we're going to go into open enrollment for that on February 1st, and it will take effect on March 1st. Now, this plan has about 10% less premium than the educator's plan. However, we have to stay in network. So this plan is made for the staff network group. It's very healthy. It's going to stay in network, and who is worried about their cost. So we'll see how many people sign up for that starting next month. And the last item, and the most important item, was the budget for the coming year. Right now, we've taken all the feedback from administrators and department heads, and we come up with an expense cost. First of all, the projected the minimum cost. So the minimum cost are pretty fixed with a little variation. Because of the 2% cap on taxpayers from the town, we get 2% on what they paid last year, plus what the debt service is. So the good news is our debt service, because we refinanced all bonds, borrow bonds, majority bonds, we're getting savings of, we're going to be $224,000 less next year with our debt service, which means the average taxpayer should pay just around 1%. That's the target. It's going to be around a 1% increase, which is very good. We haven't had that in a while, so that's wonderful news. So right now we are now working to narrow the gap between the expenditure line and the revenue line, and the administration is going to work very hard to try to narrow that gap, so when we get to March, it's going to be zero. It will be the difference. And you will get the budget books, the rest of you will not in the committee, you will get the grant books, which has everything in it that you will need to understand how the budget works. And I would be willing to have a seminar with a few board members, you know, 5 people to explain what's in this book. Okay. Next month, I know I've had several people ask me that, and I think it would be very helpful than try to do it one person at a time. Okay. So I want to do action items 1 through 14. 14 is on the addendum. Do I have a second?
Second thought.
Any questions about what I discussed or what any of these action items are or are not? Okay. We'll do a roll call.
I will just say that I would highly recommend Bob's seminar. It was very valuable and helpful to, you know, for new members to understand the budgeting process.
I second that.
I will try to find the you know, maybe 2 hours at the maximum. I can do it in 2 hours.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Montgomery?
Could start voting to the vote. Yes.
Mrs. Cooper? Yes. Mrs. DeGarmo?
Yes.
Mrs. Brandon?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Tiller? Yes. Mrs. Ray?
Sorry.
And Mrs. Sanford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Facilities and operations.
So, facilities and operations met on January 19th for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. All board people on the committee were in attendance, as well the administrators, Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Butler, Mrs. DeMarco, and Ms. Garoppolo. Dr. Lucas, the director of facilities, and Ms. Garoppolo toured with us around you might remember that we decided we would tour all 3 schools. Next month we will be touring at DHS. We were able to view some nice updated areas in BMS, which included the cafeteria with some new table configurations and sound proofing improvements. We saw a lovely outdoor classroom, also / gathering and eating area in the rear of the building. Newly painted lockers, and I may say, you could eat all that for me in that building. It was that clean when we came through. We also saw some rooms that have converted to better uses as concerns our current population. We do have some lingering areas of concern, one being the HVAC system and the media center, which needs some updating. The committee really wants to thank Mr. Lucas and Ms. Garoppolo for their time and effort and in really letting us know what their concerns are. We are working on a technology needs assessment, and you received, members of the board received some papers on that, and I'm going to ask that you look them over. The technology person, Jeremy, was not able to attend this past month's committee meeting, but he will be there in February, so reach out to me if you have any concerns about anything. We received waiver approval from the New Jersey Department of Education for the program payment in lieu of busing. Survey was sent to qualifying households, and families that expressed a desire to participate will receive paperwork from the business office in order to apply for that remuneration. We are trying to find, to fill the position of transportation manager, And I'm sure, I know they're advertising it, and hopefully we'll have candidates soon. The district new driver started, he was subbing on his first week, and I would assume this week he started his regular route. So we're not getting a little surcease in terms of busing problems. Busing office is to be in training. Have fun with that, Mr. Marco, on the new software for bus transportation. Required IEP busing is in the process of being assessed for next year. And Dr. Dempsey sent a letter to New Jersey Transit requesting that earlier timing of the train so as to accommodate BHS students. They did reply to the letter, but the reply was rather pedestrian, no pun intended. Right. So, you will know, I believe in November, we had some media technology problems at our meeting, or was that December? It was December, excuse me, I'm sorry. So, just know that the issues have been examined, and a solution is in the works. This summer, the SY program will begin on July 5th and end on August 11th, and it will take place at Bedwell. Dr. Dempsey already reported out on COVID regulations from the state. I just ask that you read the comment on my report. Residency reaffirmation, which is an annual thing that's done in the district. Annually, the district performs residency checks for grades changing schools. So that would be children coming into kindergarten, moving from Bedwell to, moving from the elementary school to the middle school, and then moving from the middle school to the high school. This year, we will be checking all students. Okay? And Dr. Dempsey met with building principals concerning this in December. Letters to parents are ready to be sent out. And this is a routine safeguard to confirm that all students attending the district are residents in the district. The only ongoing issue is the technology needs assessment, which, as I said, will be discussed in next month's meeting. I'd like to move action items. Should we go with discussion? Okay, I'd like to move action items 1 through 3. Is there any discussion? Can I move for roll call, please? No discussion.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery? Abstain on one? And yes, correct. Mr. Smith? Yes. Mrs. DeGrungle?
Yes.
Mrs. Fraggle? Yes. Mr. Joyce?
Yes, no statement.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Rao?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanford?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Nicole, would you please?
Rhythm City met on Tuesday, January 19th, 2 hours and 15 minutes. All committee members attended along with Dr. Dempsey. We first reviewed and approved all professional development and field trip requests. In our discussion, a board member expressed concerns regarding requests for 3 administrators to attend facilitator training on the topics of educational equity, diversity, and inclusion. The workshop was designed to train school personnel on how to lead professional learning on a range of equity issues and concerns. In response, Drs. Butler and Dempsey explained the concept of educational equity and the difference between educational equity and equality. Educational equity means that each child receives what they need to develop to their academic and social potential. Educational equity is far broader than racial equity and emphasizes equity for all students, regardless of their race, ethnicity, economic or cultural backgrounds, or their disabilities. The goal of the training is to help our administrators mentor our staff to better cultivate the unique gifts, talents, and interests of individual children with the goal of ensuring that their successes and failures can no longer be predicted by their specific characteristics. Basically, to ensure educational equity, we need to ensure that each child can develop the knowledge and skills necessary to achieve their goals. Some children may require more support than others due to a wide variety of factors, including learning disabilities, socioeconomic challenges, racial inequalities, and language barriers. Ultimately, all board members agree that the training is needed to optimize the district's efforts to ensure educational equity, diversity, and inclusion. Given recent confusion regarding the meaning of equity in education, the group agreed that additional thoughtful discussion of these concepts might be useful. Next, Dr. Dempsey reviewed current New Jersey Department of Health recommendations for COVID policies and discussed potential changes regarding contact tracing and quarantining. These policies were instituted at the end of last week. Our committee supported the administration's recommendations. Dr. Butler then presented two drafts of the 2022 to 2023 district calendar. First day of school for students in both drafts was Tuesday, September 26th, the day after Labor Day. Bedminster has requested that spring break follow Easter, but in the draft day, spring break follow Easter, and there were 3 days off on President's Day in February, and the last day of school for students was June 22nd. And draft B, spring break preceding Easter, President's Day beginning only included President's Day off, and the last day of school was June 15th. The committee unanimously preferred draft B, rather than the late last day of school of draft A. We also discussed decoupling spring break from Easter potentially for the 2023-2024 school year. The committee also talked about revisiting a discussion of beginning school before Labor Day now that the membership of the board has changed. Next, Dr. Dempsey reviewed updated statewide data on results of the Start Strong assessments that Dr. Edgerton presented last month. While the committee recognizes that additional support is needed for a substantial proportion of students, Somerset Hill students significantly outperformed statewide results in both English and language arts and math. Mid-year IRB testing was conducted last week, and results will be shared next month. The committee also discussed curricular needs regarding the athletic program, given recent concerns related to spectator behavior and large variations in athletic cultures, expectations, and communications across teams. Some of these issues may be able to be addressed by updating the job descriptions of coaches and the personnel committee. Others may require additional ongoing discussions. Last week, the committee began discussions of a vitally important topic of how the district can best address the educational needs of our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. This discussion ties to educational equity and will continue throughout the year. Finally, Dr. Dempsey informed us that Dr. Edgerton has been selected to serve as a subject matter expert on the New Jersey Department of Education's Graduation Proficiency Assessment, Standards Validation and Advisory Committee. We congratulate Dr. Edgerton on this honor. And that concludes my report. I'd like to move items 1 through 4 on the agenda and number 5 on the agenda. Do I have a second? Any discussion?
I do request that if you have comments or questions, you do that so that the public can hear. That's okay.
I'm just unclear on something, so
Yeah, you can, that absolutely is what the discussion is for. So if you just make sure that everybody can, so the full board can participate.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
I guess on the items, show equity, I guess I would like to have a question.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on those items on racial equity and facilitating training. So I would like to understand more as far as how these specific items would benefit, our school, our teachers, our children, and this is.
You just report out on that.
I don't do, I'm sorry.
I can perhaps share a little bit about. The training is designed to help train administrators so that they can turnkey information regarding how best to reach students to erase the opportunity gap. Just have to think about this, so thank you.
Actually, I just wanted to add something to what Dr. Dempsey just said. In addition to the conversation strictly surrounding equity and the explanation that Nicole gave, there was some public comment regarding testing scores, and I think it is very important for everyone and for the public to understand the correlation between equity and improving those scores and improving achievement, because very often what you'll find is that it's the students who have that suffering from some equity who are not performing well on these tests or these assessments. I'm sorry, I do believe that our board president makes a request to be respectful when other people are speaking, if that's an issue. I'm sorry. Okay, at least remember to respectful that everyone who speaks here, I would hope the same with the gentleman who's speaking. So equity is tied very closely tied to achievement. And if you dive into the data that is borne out in this testing, you will see that there is a huge disparity between our economically disadvantaged students, our students who are English language learners, and who are special needs or qualified group weights. You'll see a huge divide. And I think that based on the concept of equity and why this is so important. I don't know if Dr. Dempsey wants to correct me on anything or add anything to that.
No, I think pretty much covered it up. Colleen, do you have anything to add? I know you're planning on attending.
I do think that one of the things that we're charged with is making sure
Get right on right to your map.
one of the things that we are charged with is making sure that all of our students have equal access to education. And even by statute, one of the pieces of 18A says that we need to encourage safe, welcoming, and inclusive environments for all students, regardless of race or ethnicity, sexual and gender identities, mental and physical disabilities, and religious beliefs. So this work is work that is important and is we are charged with it by statute. So this is a way for us to be able to gather more tools in our toolkit to help the students work, which is so important. And as Ms. Franklin just said, we really want all of our students to be able to achieve, and this is one way we hope to be able to do that.
I have a question about the calendar. When will we vote on the calendar? Is any decision being made on that?
After the meeting curriculum committee, Colleen is going to go back and develop one additional draft, and they will look at that in February, and we anticipate that we'll have the calendar for next year at the February meeting for a vote, with an intent to then move into the calendar for the following year sooner rather than later.
I know just that every year is trying to get, if you're at a very rough circumstances that kind of stall, but that is still a goal where we would like to see 2 years of calendars coming out.
Heather, I have comments actually. Being a member of the curriculum committee, I really do think that it might be the responsible thing to do, and certainly a prudent thing to do, based on some of the questions asked by members of the public today, and certainly one of our fellow board members, to kick 3J, 4C, and D back to curriculum, because I'm not sure we really had a thorough enough discussion around this in terms of all the objectives of the program. I think we need to make sure that everyone is clear on the objectives. I think we need to make sure that we have a conversation and feel that we are fully able to answer some of the questions that were posed by members of the public. I actually am not confident that we I'll speak for myself, have those answers. So I would actually like to make a motion that we remove 3J, 4C, 4D, put it back to the curriculum committee, just so that we can have a more in-depth dialogue.
I would just point out that that is the decision that this would not be available to people because of the date of the next board meeting.
Can I have a second on the motion? Yes, I second that motion.
Okay, so now we need to do a roll call. What, Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, what we are deciding here is whether we want to put, pull those items from the agenda. If that passes, they would go back to curriculum. If it does not, we will move to vote on that in the agenda.
Just number 3, I just want to clarify, it's 3J, that means it's a non-number word vote, so it would be 1.
The only thing, Jenny, I would say is that we vote is, she's an administrative, I changed
Okay, so I'm going to do this separately only because this, no, I can do it together. You know what? I can do it together and investigate your.
Just so the board understands, the rep of that minister only votes on certain items, and that's what the, Jenny is discussing in terms of item 3 being something that the minister would not necessarily vote on.
Okay, so this motion, this vote is just to delete 3J and 4C and D off the agenda. This is just this vote, not for the curriculum. Okay? So this is to get rid of those items for.
So to make it clear, a yes vote would be to remove them, and no vote would be to
Keep them on.
keep.
Okay, Mr. Baker?
No.
Mrs. Black-Every?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? No. Mrs. DeYoung?
No.
Mrs. Brenda?
No.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
No.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rao?
No.
And Mrs. Sandler?
No.
Okay, so for item 3J, motion does not carry. Motion fails. And for 4C and D, same. Motion fails. So D are going to vote with the items in. Okay, so any more discussions on the curriculum? Before I do roll call for items 1 through 5.
I guess I have a question as far as the training. I haven't been involved in a lot of conversations prior to, so do we know enough about the curriculum of that training and what it might add to the teacher's schedule? Because my understanding is that obviously with giving equal opportunity to everybody, you don't want to take away from certain students for extra attention on others, etc. But I guess with other conversations.
So, I'm sorry, it's just, I just want to make sure I understand your question.
So the training that's being offered, what is the curriculum and what will the teachers be learning? Obviously it's,
The training is for administrators to go and learn how to turnkey this information for the teachers in our district. So, certainly we have, we talked about what it is aimed toward, but I feel like I heard you say something about the time piece.
okay, so that obviously could distinction between administrators and teachers.
Yes.
Not the.
Yes, the teachers would also, ultimately this work would impact teachers through scheduled professional development in district according to their collective bargaining agreement
That's what I'm
being
saying.
provided through these administrators. So from a cost perspective, this would be where we would say, you've spent this money to train people in-house to then pass that along to our teachers.
Okay, and that wouldn't take away from the teacher's current duties?
No, certainly not. That time has already been built into their schedules.
And just to add one thing to that, the courses themselves are given on Friday evenings after the work day.
I guess coming late into the game, so to speak, my own concern is that I don't understand about, I for my own research and I understand that it's already good to go, but just for my thought processes, it's stuff that I need to investigate and look into a lot more because I don't understand so properly.
And Holly, just so you know, the NJSBA offers trainings on all of this. So in addition to any kind of research you're doing, through the New Jersey School Board Association, we can on equity and on why variety of matters that may come up in trainings or for our educators as well as things that are going on. And additionally too, just so that you can also understand where our processes, once the committee reports and the agenda come out, you could certainly reach out for clarification if you have specific questions to the chair, to Dr. Betsy, all of those are options to continue to educate yourself on these topics. And anything on the agenda, doesn't talk about us going to do a little primer on the budget, those kinds of things. So, are there any more comments? So we can do roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark? No, on which items? All the items?
The 4J, or 4CAD.
Okay, so just to clarify, no on 3J and 4CAD and yes to rest?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood?
Yes.
Mrs. Brenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes, on 1 and 2, and on the state on 3.
All 3 and 4 or just the defendants that were in question?
Just so that question, J, C.
So you can abstain, okay.
Yeah, yes, on
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Trevor?
Yes to everything, no to 3J, 4C, and 4D.
Mrs. Rao?
Yes.
Mrs. Sinclair?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Kristen, personnel policy, please.
So the policy and personnel committee met in their thought meeting as of this year on Thursday the 20th at 4 p.m. for an hour. All board members were in attendance, as well as Dr. Dempsey and Ms. Butler. In terms of personnel, the majority of things that were discussed are actually agenda items for passing tonight in terms of retirements and leaves of absences. So I'd like to move agenda items 1 through 15 on the agenda, if there's any discussion.
I'll second.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. DeGroffre?
Yes.
Mrs. Brenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathan?
Yes.
Mrs. Tobin?
Yes.
Mrs. Rao?
Yes.
And Mrs. Sinclair?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can you hear me? Okay. In regards to the policy section of the meeting, the same people were in attendance. And we discussed a number of items. The first that we discussed was actually clarification in regards to policy R5131, the student random drug testing. There was discussion there in terms of wording in areas in terms of confirmation testing and clarity that we thought may be appropriate to look at, so that there was no confusion in the policy in terms of the various testing and confirmations that may be needed at that time. So we'll be working on looking into that and inviting Dr. Nigel to a future meeting to ensure that we understand the process clearly and that we're not adding any undue stress due to wording in the policy to any students or families with that policy being part of our policies. We also discussed a committee goal that we had set at the end of last year to look at all Board of Ed bylaws for accuracy and consistency. At the end of last year, the policy committee did break that up and review the bylaws, and this year we will take on going through the recommendations of last year's committee and collating those for feedback and looking to revise any potential policies that may need revisions or clarifications in this coming year to ensure that all of our bylaws are updated and accurate at this time. We also talked specifically about how we're going to be continuing to integrate community relations into every committee as a part of an importance to ensure that we are raising the issues of our community and addressing them in actionable ways. We felt that very specifically in this meeting and in this discussion, our review of policy R5131 and ensuring that we were having clarity in that policy and not adding any undue stress by potential wording conflicts was one way that it could be helping to address our community. And the last thing that we discussed was policy P0155, which was in second review for this evening, which if I'm not remiss because I didn't actually put it in my notes, so I apologize, but I'm pretty sure that was combining the policy and the personnel committee meetings into one meeting, which would be the effect for us. So with that, I would like to move action agenda items 1 and 2, and if there's any discussion.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Montgomery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? Yes. Mrs. Steve Rockwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Brenda? Yes. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mrs. Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner? Mrs. Rowell?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanford? Yes. Motion carries. Okay, and before we move on to supplementary matters, we are just going to add that our strategic plan committee met, and Sam is the chair, so she's going to give us a brief update on that.
Okay, so that pretty much is the update, but I'll quickly go through it. The committee met with Dr. Jesse, the action go through item by item, the outcomes and the goals that were identified through the process that we undertook in October, November, December, and all of those outcomes and goals are viewable for the public on the website, on the strategic plan. So we're going through those item by item. We are going to be meeting again on Monday, January 31st. There's a little bit of time crunch here, so we don't want to set time and date to meet it because there are items that came out of that strategic plan that have implications for the 2022-2023 budget. So we want to make sure that we identify those things as soon as possible, but we also then we're looking at things that are identified that may be going to be able to take, the initial steps more quickly, because there may be some mechanisms in place to get those things rolling more quickly. So kind of identifying those things, prioritizing what we need to do, and we do have a little bit more to that end. We need to get everything, so we will be meeting on Monday, and to do that work so that we can get moving on the work of the committee.
Thank you, Sam. Supplementary matters. Supplementary matters this evening.
We want to mention the presentation on the night.
Okay. On the 31st, thank you, Robert.
On January 31st in the evening, there will be a parent presentation that the middle school administration and high school administration have arranged with their HSAs that surrounds Dr. Butler on the cue flyer. Always Connected is the name of the organization that this police officer has put together. He is part of the Summit Police Department, and he is a keynote. He's coming to talk about teachable moments to help bridge the gap between students and adults, be they administrators or parents, building a line of communication through education and awareness by sharing personal and legal consequences of misusing technology, social media, and popular apps like Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and so many others. Students will receive opportunities to participate in this work during the day. This evening presentation is for parents. It is in the pack here in the high school at 7 p.m. on the 31st. Thanks for bringing that up.
And we certainly encourage all parents to come out. I think it will be very informative and a good communication tool for your children to open dialogue with them about what they're learning to do. So, anything else? Okay, so we will move on to public comments. Public comments are welcome at this time on any topic. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Again, Mr. Markle will keep time and let you know we have 30 seconds left. Please state your name and address, and we appreciate your input.
Good evening, Sarah Westfall, third grade teacher at Bethel Elementary School. In honor of School Board Recognition Month, as Dr. Betsy said earlier, I just want to thank all the board members, including the for all your commitment and dedication to our community, and I truly thank you for ensuring full access to learning for all of our students. As a teacher, that's incredibly important, so thank you very much. I also want to give a major thank you and shout out to our building administrators for all their efforts. The position there is not easy, and I see Ms. Fairman and Mrs. Friedman working tirelessly around the clock to support us and the students and to make sure things are running smoothly, and we appreciate all that they do. And despite the substitute shortage that we've been experiencing, especially with the uptick in cases, I was lucky enough to attend a Teachers College workshop recently through Columbia, and I wanted to share something that I learned and has stuck with me because it's quite alarming and I feel it resonating in our community right now. So the study that I shared from this workshop, this was actually from 2019, the National Association of Head Teachers found that 40% of teachers in the U.S. visited doctors with stress-related problems, and 1 in 4 teachers suffered from hypertension, insomnia, depression, gastrointestinal disorders, and I'll spare you all the other statistics, but a lot of alarming and concerning things. And it's important to note that this data is, like I said, from 2019, which, was before we were living and teaching during the pandemic. So I can only fathom how those numbers have skyrocketed since. I've not personally taken a survey of my colleagues, but anecdotally I can say with certainty that my coworkers are suffering from the stress related to our job, to the point that it's requiring medical attention. We're tired and aware that a good night's sleep or self-care strategies will not fix. Not only are we providing virtual instruction while tending to the needs of our in-person students, doing the absolute best we can, we have less prep periods now than we did in prior years. Personally, I'm on recess duty 3 times a week when that was not the case pre-pandemic. I'm doing more duties than I had, and that's on top of all the extra, demands that this current situation is requiring. So this lack of prep time is compounded by the lack of substitutes, which means even when we're spending time when a colleague is absent, which again, for obvious reasons, our colleagues are going to be absent, and this impacts the quality of instruction that we are able to provide. And I feel compelled to share these concerns and bring them to your attention because this growing issue directly correlates to student achievement, and I fear for the direction that education in our district is going as more and more tasks continue to pile on. Our students deserve teachers who have the energy, the passion, and to show up each day with engaging lessons, who have the capacity to listen and respond to students' needs, with specific needs that have exacerbated from the pandemic. And in order for students to thrive academically, we must prioritize their well-being, which means considering the well-being of the people who spend all day with these students. I see that they were thanks. Yeah, I have to ask you to wrap up. Sure. See, yeah.
Hi, I'm Barbara Long from Louisville, and I'd like to donate these award-winning books by Connor Boyack, 17-year-old, to Bedwell's Library, or Media Center, whatever you call it. They teach important concepts about economics, government, and personal responsibility through child-friendly stories, featuring the poetry. And many students and teachers will take advantage of them.
How you doing? Steve Tobin, Anbar Place, Burnsville, New Jersey. First, I wanted to say I have the utmost respect for the teachers, and I have one of my best friends is a teacher up in Bergen County. And I also want to make note of the fact that it was pointed out to the gentleman earlier that the test scores in Burnsville are plummeting, and then there was absolutely no reaction by the board. I'm wondering why that is. Shouldn't that be the biggest priority? The students' test scores? I don't think it's because of the teachers, but I think there's certain things that are distractions to the teachers. And I'm sure my speaking to you right now is probably a distraction to most of the board members. Why was it that none of you even flinched when it was pointed out that the test scores of our students are plummeting? If not for the math, I might have seen a few of you yawn.
I just want to say, I'm sure,
I'm sorry. No, you don't want to respond yet. Public comment, thank you.
It just dawned on me as surprising. Because it's the Board of Education. I would assume that you'd be concerned about their education. That being said, I also want to point out that I'm going to congratulate the person whom I proudly voted for, Ms. Holly Clark-Henry. I think she's going to do a great job on the board. And just to show, the diversity and willingness here on the board, I'm just wondering, how many members of the board actually voted for her?
you're not going to get an answer to that question, so I'm just suggesting you continue with whatever you're doing.
Okay. So, I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to say that I supported Martin Luther King. But, okay. You don't want to say, okay. Much like how you ignored the fact that the test scores of the students are plummeting and you have a teacher in need. What are you doing up here? What is the Board of Ed doing? What time? I mean, you're most concerned about the time in which I'm speaking, as I see you pointing at the watch. Okay, I'm sorry. Free country, at least I thought it was. This is the Board of Education. Please do your job. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, folks. Jim Ferrara, 8 Central Road, Burnsville. I'm also the AP physics teacher here at high school. I've been teaching almost 20 years now. I've been in the district for about 17 plus years. And about a dozen years ago, I came in front of the board that there was some debate about what's happening with the calendar going forward. That was about a dozen years ago. And at the time, I made some remarks about, teaching AP classes, what an absolute sprint it is from day one to get to the first week of May. And I made a couple couple comments at the time about, basically how many days we lose during the school year for various things and how many days we get to actually teach our classes. And one of the board members approached me afterwards and said, hey, can you come up with some actual hard numbers for me? And I said, sure, I did. And it turned out, and I'll compare it with some numbers I'm going to give you right now, to be not quite as bad as it is now, but roughly the same. If you take our 180 school day calendar, and then take the calendar up to the 1st of May, which is when we have to basically be ready for the AP exams, you're only talking about 130 days. Once you take away 100, you have 150 days of instruction, theoretically. And then there's a lot of disrupted days. There are days that are early dismissal, late, openings late, you have a lot of days that are lost for state testing, there are a lot of in-school things that happen, there's assemblies, there's field trips that happen even within the school that are currently happening. So we lose a lot of time, and when I went through my calendar and looked, it actually turned out to be about 130 days of teaching to try to teach a college course, several college courses actually. That's over 25% of the school calendar is lost because of just the way our calendar works, okay? If I now go into the block scheduling, which I'm not going to really go off on too much, but then I really have to reduce that number by 3/4. So now you're talking about 98 days of instruction, 98 days that I get to be face-to-face with my students. The 98 days amounts to about 54% of our school calendar that I'm actually face-to-face with my students, trying to teach a college course. So every day is incredibly valuable. Trust me, I pray for either snow to happen on the weekends or to miss us completely, because when there are snow days, I don't get those days back. Those days I get back at Memorial Day weekend, which just does me no good, okay, as far as you got it. Let me go on to what I'm really up here for. Over the break, I contracted COVID. I didn't know that. It was caught during testing that I was asymptomatic. At the time I was told I was asymptomatic, I said, okay, you have to go home. Fortunately, with the quarantine period, I only had to be home for 3 days. But I had to be home. I wasn't allowed to teach. So I was sitting at home, realizing that I only got so many days with my students, and I'm sitting on my hands at home, panicking, because I was missing, out of the 3 days I was home, I was missing 3 double lab periods amounting to 6 hours of instruction that they were missing, completely missing, okay?
I'm sorry to interrupt, I am going to have to ask you to wrap up.
Okay, I'll wrap up.
Okay.
Give me about 10 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Point is this, I wasn't allowed to teach from home. That really needs to change, because no teacher is wanting to sit home and sit on their hands. But the fact that I was home missing instructional time just exacerbates this whole situation, okay? We should be allowed to teach from home. And I think that when I talk to my colleagues from all around the state, they can't believe that I'm not allowed to teach from home. And when I say not allowed to teach from home, meaning I have to take sick days, which means I'm not allowed to teach from home because I'm not being paid. So it just doesn't make sense, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Hi, Sarah Calderano, wearing a lot of hats tonight. First of all, thank you to our board attorney for the presentation about negotiations and grievances. That was very informative. I think it's truly important that you all, as the Board of Education, truly understand the process and that the public understand the process. Our negotiator was unable to be here tonight, Jim McCann, but he's watching online, and his message is that he too is hoping for an amicable negotiation process. He's hoping that we can have a deal done also before the end of the school year, and wants to let you know that we met with our NGA rep today to finalize our 21-22 current agreement, and we'll be reaching out to you soon. As a negotiator myself, I look forward, and as speak for the team, look forward to a fair and a full and thoughtful process. Switching hats to a coach now. I've been a head field hockey coach here for 18 years. I heard you speak about possible training for coaches, about changing spectator behavior. I also encourage you to think about the behavior of spectators at away games. I have to say, over 18 years, 300 and some odd games that I've coached, the spectators of away games are generally more egregious. The behavior is more egregious at away games. I believe instead of trying to change a spectator's behavior, or in addition to changing a spectator's behavior, we need to worry about the social emotional aspects that this has our student athletes and how we deal with that and how we are getting yelled at in called derogatory names on the field as we get onto a bus, having crowds of not allowing a bus to leave away parking lots. Those types of things need to be managed just as much, if not more, than what happens here in our home stands. Lastly, to reflect upon the whole issue of test scores, yes, they are important. Yeah. This is the way public education is run, absolutely. However, going on what Sarah Westfall was saying, they're not the most important thing, especially in our extraordinary world right now. Right now, we're at the point where Maslow is much bigger than Bloom, and that definitely needs to be looked into and understood. Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak? Okay. So maybe just wrap up my thoughts because I'm not as concise as the other Sarah, so I'm a little more long-winded. But just to wrap up what I was saying before, and I know this idea of test scores is coming up, and I would reiterate what Sarah said, that test scores are not the only thing. I understand as a board that's something, and the parents reasonably so are concerned about, but test scores are nothing without the well-being of students, and test scores will not increase without, considering mental health as well. And so, in order for these students to thrive academically, we really must prioritize their well-being, and it also considers the well-being of the people who spend all day with these students, the staff. So, ultimately, students deserve teachers who have ample time to prepare their lessons and provide feedback. They deserve teachers who are compensated for the extra workload that, is required of teaching virtually. Our students deserve to receive support services and related arts classes where so many of our students thrive, and on a consistent basis rather than being canceled because substitutes select opportunities in districts that pay a higher rate. I know that you make so many difficult decisions as a board. You have a lot of people to appease. I completely understand that. But as you make decisions for the future and you have these discussions about initiatives with the strategic planning meetings, I hope you'll consider policy changes and actionable steps that can be taken so that the staff and in turn the students feel supported. All we want to be is our best selves for our students. That's what I want. And we just want to give them the education they deserve. And I know I have the best job in the world. I work in an incredible district, and that's not lost on me. I'm extremely fortunate. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention. So thank you very much.
Like you did. So it's me again. I just wanted to clarify, because I just want my statements to be understood, not out of context. By saying that I think we should be able to teach from home, meaning that if we are quarantined, we have to remain at home, not by our own choice. Because what happened to me was I was asymptomatic, but yet still positive, so I was required to be at home. I was not allowed to teach. Yet my students who are at home quarantined, they are allowed to Zoom in. In fact, I Zoom in my students on a regular basis who are quarantined. So the students get the benefits of being able to still work from home, whereas I wasn't able to do that. If you take the block schedule into consideration, there was actually one of my classes that, because of the way the days fell, I actually didn't see those students for an entire week, even though I was only out for 3 days. Consider a kid who is absent that one day for some reason. Now it's even more time that I haven't seen with them. So you can have gaps. The schedule, the way it works, you can have gaps very easily of a week where you don't see students. Go on a snow day, and it's even worse. So my point is that, allow us the flexibility so that if we choose if we feel well enough, feel healthy, that we should be able to have that opportunity to be able to still engage our students. Because otherwise, telling them to search for YouTube videos to watch, I can't speak for other classes, but it doesn't apply to physics, I can tell you that much. And so the only thing that really helps is direct instruction, and that's the best thing for them. And I can't tell you how guilty I felt being away for 3 days, not being, and maybe that sounds silly, but it makes so much more work when I get back, because I still have to teach that material. So I spend the better part of the next week trying to get them ready for a test by teaching every lunch period I have and teaching after school at the time. Now, I know my union colleagues are probably not going to want to like hearing that, but I have to do what I have to do to get those guys ready, especially with the market period ended and this type of thing. So this is, I know this whole COVID crisis is, nothing that any of us ever wanted to plan for. But I think we need to have the flexibility. We need to be able to adapt as things change. And being able to take, not have to take sick time and perhaps be, somehow, verifying that people are actually teaching from home, I think would be a good positive step to have teachers have that option. It's going to help the students, and honestly, that's really all that we're all here for. So, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay. We have one little comment that came in through the web.
I'm reading a comment from Captain Lugo, Main Street, Michigan. I have serious concerns about children wearing masks in gym class indoors. I've spoken to the principal of the elementary school, and I've been told that when gym is indoors, they are not planning high-intensity activities. However, the children are sitting in a good portion of the day, and they should be able to have high-intensity activities at every gym class. The response from the principal also included the fact that they are trying to keep everyone safe. And safety also includes ensuring children are getting proper amount of oxygen while running around and not inhaling too much carbon dioxide. It would be very upsetting for all that a child passes out, got hurt, or hit their head or worse. The executive order has exemptions for wearing a mask during physical activity in sections 1F, G, and H. The school should be utilizing these exemptions. Other local private schools do not require masks when children are in the gymnasium. I hope the board can look into this exemption further to ensure the safety of the children while allowing them to get the exercise they deserve and need for their physical and mental development. Thank you.
Okay, I would just like to take a moment to clarify some information that was spoken during the comments, and then Dr. Dempsey, I will give you an opportunity if you feel like you would like to. Figures that were presented at the podium, and what the board does. So we certainly listen to those numbers that are presented at the podium by people from various sites that are utilized on Realtor.com, on a lot of different grade schools. There are statistics that come from a wide variety of sources. We also look very closely at our own data, which was presented in depth in December. It's also documented on our website. And that's the data that we utilize in our committee meetings to be able to digest where we are as a school district and what we need to move forward. So I would like to make that clear that we are always looking at data, and that is what drives our decisions. And we look at data that we know the sources that it is collected from.
And also use a lot of formative data to help teachers to understand individual students and how to help each of them. The board has generously provided funding for the district to procure iReady for both math and language arts, K-8, which is a highly respected and well-known tool to the state tests that are so often, the results are so often. So we are taking real steps each and every day to ensure that we help each child reach his or her potential. And there's not a magic wand to be sure.
What happens at meetings, we certainly do not like to hear that and have as deep a concern about that as what we discussed, spectatorship happening here. So I certainly encourage our coaches to bring that to the attention of our athletic director, who can then work to address those issues, and if it needs to progress. Our administration certainly not ignore that and would respond in a very appropriate manner. So I do want to make sure that once that is brought to the attention of administration, I trust and believe it will be handled appropriately. As far as the environment that we know our teachers are working in, we certainly understand everything that they are doing and the stress and what the environment of this pandemic has done to the education system. I think what we face as a board is that it is not isolated to our district, as we all know. So resources are scarce. And I sat on a New Jersey School Board's roundtable last night, and the number one topic of conversation for all board members was coverage, substitute shortages. It's something that collectively everyone is really trying to problem solve, but it's very difficult. As we talked about, we are trying to attract subs, we raised the rates, we're advertising, I think we did approve 2 subs tonight. More, okay. So, we are taking steps that we can. Unfortunately, we cannot do anything about what is going on a statewide and a nationwide basis. So it does not go unnoticed. It's just that we that's a start. And we want to problem solve, and we're trying to do that. We understand, and we want to continue. Hopefully numbers will go down, our environment will get better, but until that happens, the board is continually looking at ways that we can try and make things easier. And, we will continue to do that. So, this is a hard-working board. We work a lot, as you can tell by our committee reports. We spend a lot of time. And I certainly appreciate the whole work that the board does, our staff does, and our administration does. Anything that you want to address, and I will say this too, public comment is here though, she's retired, and so that was that, she's sitting right there. And I would also like to note that although I may not be addressing every public comment this evening, they do not go unchecked. We will bring those back to the committee, and we will address them in the appropriate committee and then report out on them in the next month. So hopefully that provides some clarification for what we are doing and the way in which we operate. And Fred, do you have anything else? So congratulations, Mrs. Madden. Appreciate your service and all our other departments. Okay. Can we get a motion to close?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to close public comments first. Same second. Okay, now I have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion.